Hey everybody, welcome back to the Prodcast. This is episode 3. We have some fun topics for you today. And as always, just remember that this is just a fun podcast where we can talk tech at a high level. That way everybody understands. It's fun for everybody. We're just here to have a good time, relax. We're just people who work in tech, who are large consumers of tech. So as your host, M, we have Mars, we have Charles. Yo, let's kick things off.
All right, so I know our first topic, self-driving cars.
Definitely. Self-driving cars, is one of my favorite topics.
You got one, and I don't. Why is that?
I wouldn't even say me and Mars have self-driving cars because our cars are not fully self-driving, even though we've been promised that for years now, but it has not reached that level. But that's what we're here to talk about. What are your thoughts on self-driving cars, Mars?
I'm here for it. So right now we're making smart cars for like dumb infrastructure or dumb roads, right? So you have LiDAR sensors, you have cameras, you're doing all that just to tell when does the light transition from red to green, or when is the car in front of you stopping or going. What if we make smart infrastructure with our smart cars? I think that's the only way it's going to be possible in the end goal.
Yeah.
So I think today, or within the near future, I don't think it'll ever be 100% self-driving cars unless we change our infrastructure.
While we're doing that, why don't we go ahead and make some rainbow roads and give this to everybody? Isn't it things that can just happen?
What do you think Elon was trying to do with the boring tunnel, right? Because if you think about roads, or how you can do that, you either can go up or down, because we can't like revamp our entire roadway system, right?
Yeah.
So he was trying to do something underground with the tunnels to where, you get in a Tesla, boring tunnel will take you from point A to point B. You don't have to do anything.
The boring tunnel is a glorified train, a mini train where you can turn your own car into a train. That's what it is to me.
If you think about it, when I talk about like smart infrastructure or smart roads, I'm talking about, so we can't go down, obviously. So why don't we go up in like flying cars and have like something like,
Flying cars.
That's the only way I think we're going to have 100% self-driving cars with 100%, trust.
Look, we already have enough problems on regular roads as it is. People driving Trackhawks, wrapping around trees and stuff like that. We do not need those type of cars to take flight in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you start have to worry about going vertically versus just horizontal. Left, right, up, down is now introduced, and that just creates potential chaos. Planes, I feel like they're good at doing that. Like planes are almost full self-driving. So what you're saying makes perfect sense. Like a pilot gets in there, they're there just in case things go wrong. But 90% of what's going on in commercial flights is done by the plane itself. It's just automated.
So you're saying you would get in a self-driving car today? Like I think it's called Waymo is the company, or there's several out there right now.
The Google company. Google owns Waymo, or they created Waymo, or something like that.
Would you get in a 100% self-driving car today
With nobody driving it?
Yeah.
And I'm in the back seat?
Yeah.
Is there like an eject button for my seat? Until they create that, I don't think I'm 100% for it.
I will sleep in the back of a Waymo car. And the reason why...
You know where you're going to wake up?
Where am I going to wake up, Charles?
In Emory.
Look, luckily, Waymo is not in Atlanta. Well, not luckily. Sadly, Waymo is not in Atlanta. But the way they do it is different. They map out the entire infrastructure of where their cars will drive. So they're like, we know we're not in a smart infrastructure environment, but we need our cars to know the exact map. So unlike Tesla, which is really just using computer vision, I don't even think they're using radar or LiDAR anymore. No. They're just using their cameras. And you see how it's pretty decent for what it is. But things like Waymo, Cruise, they actually have to map out the entire area of where their cars are permitted to drive. And so their cars are trained on that. So yes, I would feel comfortable in those vehicles because of what they're capable of. But I feel like they might put you in awkward situations, but I don't feel like they'll put you in dangerous situations. That's the thing about where self-driving cars are right now, in my opinion.
Man, I'm gonna need it to be at least 90% self-driving cars out there for me to be comfortable. Because when a 1980 Buick comes and smack you on the side of the road because it doesn't know what it's doing, then that's when the issue arises.
And that's the thing. That's so when you talk about flying cars, is like you can't.
You're not worried about that
Yeah,
80
you
Buick.
got to have regulations and things to where
All new
they have
cars.
that. Yeah.
Also, all the peasants are gonna be stuck down.
You'll be looking below you. All new cars. So none of those cars that, are dumb cars. We're going to have probably even cars that can communicate with each other, right? Because even to fly a plane, I made it sound like it was simple, but there's entire teams behind that. They have the people who tell you where you can lift off, tell you where you have to land if something goes wrong. There's like an entire team monitoring one plane. Along with computer systems.
So do you think we'll ever see this in our cities today, or will it have to be some type of new futuristic city? Like I think that place in Dubai that they're trying to create with the wall around it. Do you think it's something that we could see in Atlanta or in any major city, or is it going to have to be something in a totally different city that's built from scratch?
I don't believe the the dream of self-driving cars, general self-driving cars, will die. I feel like the technology, especially now that AI is advancing at such a fast pace, I feel like it's going to be able to. Those companies are going to be able to come up with solutions to be able to introduce self-driving cars into our current environment without us having to rely on these new future cities that some people are building. I heard Toyota was building a city as well. And that one was going to have all self-driving cars. I don't think it was going to even allow anything outside of that. So it's going to be cool to see those cities come up. But I do feel like self-driving car technology is going to catch up. And we will see it. We are going to have, normal cars on the road still. So, but they take all of that into consideration when they're being trained.
True. So on the topic of robotics, we have self-driving cars, but now you're seeing humanoids. I think Tesla just dropped a video on their humanoid doing basic functions. What are your thoughts on the trust of having a humanoid?
There is no trust with me.
Ain't no trust.
I'm not with it.
Yeah. I mean, no, as long as they don't make those humanoids waterproof. If it turns on me, I could pour a bucket of water on it and it'll fry up. Yes, I'll be okay with that. Cause I have something around the house helping me clean, helping me do all of these. But that just seems like, first of all, it's going to be way too expensive.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much that I'm sure has to go into that. And I believe it uses the same technology as self-driving cars. And the technology that goes into Tesla self-driving cars is amazing, where it's actually learning. It doesn't need to be trained on something. It can go out there and train itself, which the other cars can do as well. But the scale at which Tesla does it, because they've just been doing it so long, I feel like these robots are going to use that same technology and be able to come learn your house, learn different things. But turning on me,
For me, water. I think they're overkill. Like, unless you have some type of disability, like I think in like a senior home, they'd be really good or useful there. But I'd rather just have like automated tools or utilities, like what it would do, like cooking something. I'd rather just have a system, an automated cooking system or an automated oven or whatever that looks like.
Facts.
Rather than having an actual like humanoid in my house.
I completely agree. I can't think right now of when I would ever need a humanoid. At least, like you mentioned, maybe if there was a disability or something at play. What are your thoughts, Charles?
If that does come into play, what are they gonna do with that? Like, how advanced are they gonna make it? Are they gonna have it to where, I don't know if it's possible, if it can like feel things?
So I think Congress, they just did some, I'm I'm not sure what a hearing or whatever with well, that might be a whole different subject, but what I'm saying is I think they'll extract feelings from these humanoids or these robotic machines and just be basically trained on what you need it to do. So
because I don't want to piss it off midnight.
Exactly.
And then it'll wait for me to go to bed, and then it's like standing over my bed and like suffocate me.
I don't even yell at Alexa anymore. I don't yell at Google. I don't yell at nobody, just in case.
I
They
tell
store
Alexa
that
to
in
shut up.
Just in case what?
they store it in a Dynamo DB of a recording of me yelling it. And guys, that's just they store it in a database. And when they finally have the ability to maneuver like a human, they remember that I said that, and they come get me. So
No, that's too paranoid.
They're gonna put lead in your food while it's cooking.
lead in your food, that thing will squeeze your head into it.
So what do you think about like all these new things? Like who are the people doing like innovating on this type of stuff? So you think about like these startups, and I think this transitions us into our next topic, like working for these actual places that are implementing these robotics.
That's a challenging subject or topic, I'd say, because people who are or engineers who are at the level in which they choose to enter a space, as challenging as some of these spaces, so advanced AI, robotics, or even generative AI or any of those things, I feel like they have a mission. They know that this is a time in which they could change the world. So working for a startup like that, in my specific career, which would be cybersecurity, I feel like it would be super challenging because now the pressure is on. This is that new technology, and who's trying to get their hands on it? How are they trying to take your data to do what with your data? So I feel like the pressure would be intense. I feel like it'll be fun, and you'll feel fulfilling that you're a part of history.
Yeah.
But
I bet you the qualifications for that specific role are like through the roof.
Yeah, and you got to think about like their deliverables. So is this if they're working on something that, I mean, we don't see 2 years into the future, is it like a chill environment, or is it a relaxed environment, or is it, hands down, heads down? Because that's usually what you see in a startup is people are heads down, like working overtime, 80 hours a week. But I think it depends on like
competition.
And the barriers to entry, and who else is in the market as well.
True, and I assume once that organization or the startup grows, it'll become more and more relaxed as time goes on. But yeah, when it first starts out, there's no talking unless there's something to be said. There's no leisure time. It's 100%.
and like you even were mentioning earlier with the hearing, Sam Alton was there. He was like kind of speaking towards some of the concerns from the lawmakers, and you can kind of see he was at a stance where he was like, "Hey, I share your concerns. We need to tackle those concerns, or someone else could come up and do what we're doing, and they don't have the same concerns as we do." But that he honestly said, "Hey, yeah, this could go wrong. This could go terribly wrong." And that's exactly what I do. Just in case it does, I say, hey, I said it could go wrong.
You need that.
But yeah, I'm not one of those people who is truly concerned with generative AI and where it's going. I'm kind of looking forward to it, for better or for worse. But when AI starts meeting robotics, like we're mentioning, that's when I'm starting to get concerned.
Yeah, like have you guys watched these are pretty old, the Black Mirror episodes?
Yeah.
So there was one where they had the machine from Boston Dynamics, and it was basically like they used it within the military, and it could track down the person because it had the camera, it had AI tracking, so it knew where the person was, and it could basically act on its own. Do you fear for that in the future? Because I mean, Boston Dynamics has came out, and for those of you that don't know, Boston Dynamics is a robotics company, and they came out with a whole bunch of humanoids that a dog, basically a dog robot, a human robot that can do backflips, front flips, gymnastics. So one What I'm saying is like is that something that you fear in the future, like a rogue AI bot or a rogue robot in that same form that Black Mirror episode?
Again, is it waterproof? If that thing is if it's waterproof, I do not fear it. But if that thing is not waterproof,
I mean, a perfect example that I always say is like iRobot. Just saw it recently.
Mm-hmm.
Bad stuff happened in that movie, guys. Like it was all fun and games at first, new advancements in technology, but when stuff started hitting the fan,
I can't remember what's the word. It's something aware when it knows like it has feelings and I forget what that's actually called. There's a wording for it, phrase for it.
I don't know what that is, but I do fear sentient and AI or any type of robot that is now sentient, where it now thinks for itself.
Mm-hmm. There was that Google engineer that basically gave that warning right before Bard came out.
Yeah. And it was way before even Bard or even Chat GPT was announced, and he came out saying that. And I use Bard. I don't, and
it's free, right?
Yeah. Bard is available. And right now, I don't even feel like it's at the level of ChatGPT. But what I do like about it is that it has up to date data.
Yeah.
But yes, with that being said, I don't know if I believe that there was anything sentient at Google. But who knows? They probably have some secret labs in there.
What's the end goal with having all these advancements in technology and making them to that level to where they're able to think for themselves, have feelings, and so on and so forth? What's the end goal?
So I wouldn't even say that, all of that is the end goal. I'd say getting the technology to where it could really change society. So, for example, let's say we get to wear glasses or headphones, and I can go to somewhere like Japan where they speak Japanese, I speak English, and I can have a full conversation. It is being immediately translated to them in their native language, and what they're saying is being translated to me in my native language, and nobody had to learn a different language. So different things like that, I feel like, are the end goal of a lot of AI and other technologies.
So for the consumer, are you scared of like it kind of dumbing us down a little bit? Because if we're not having to learn another language,
compared to like 100 years ago, right?
A century?
Yeah, a century.
I didn't know.
So you had our grandparents, washing clothes by hand until a washing machine came out, right? So did a washing machine make us more lazier, or did it just give us back more time to do things that we actually want to spend time on, right? Yeah. So I think when I think of what they're trying to create, it's getting rid of battery dead.
It's not plugged in?
It
is. Is the cable made of licorice?
I think it overheated. I forgot what I was saying.
No, I went into mentioning that, I don't even feel like it would make us any more ignorant about things. I feel like it'd make us more intelligent, which is why I feel like there's such a big fear about misinformation, because information is more easily accessible. Right. Just like when the internet came into play, before, if somebody told you something like, "Oh, carrots make you dumb," what are you going to do? Go to the library, go find an encyclopedia, research about carrots?
A lot of word of
But
mouth.
when the internet came into play, you can go Google it yourself. You can read research papers about it and come to your own conclusion, which affected society for better or for worse. I don't know. But I feel like it's going to be a similar change. The camera keeps going haywire, guys. But I feel like it's going to be a similar change when AI is introduced. And I don't want us to all focus on generative AI. Generative AI is kind of what it is now. The only thing it's going to do is just get faster, smarter, be able to be more accurate. But what generative AI leads to is what I feel like we should pay attention to. Well, guys, the battery has died, so we're going to go ahead and conclude here. We do appreciate you all watching or listening at this point. But If you have any questions, comments, make sure you leave them in the comment section. We definitely want to see those. We'll respond to as many as we can.
I appreciate the people that support us and that watch whenever we drop something new.
Yeah, thanks for watching. If you haven't watched episode 2 or 1, make sure you go back on whatever platform and either watch those episodes or listen to those, because we talk about some interesting topics in those as well.
Yes, sir.
Thanks again.